Philadelphia's biggest and final internal free agent has officially left the nest, but his replacement might be more than capable. Plus, Howie Roseman makes a slew of cheap signings, one of which I absolutely love. The Dallas Goedert trade rumblings, they're back according to this report. I'm Thomas Mott. This is The Thomas Mott Show. Well, Philadelphia's cheap free agent spending spree continued on Friday as the Birds inked 5 more depth chart additions that you might not know now but could become household names very soon. But of course, with all the additions, Howie then lost the biggest internal free agent, literally, of the new league year, as guard Mekhi Becton signed a 2-year contract with the Los Angeles Chargers, putting to rest any hope of Philadelphia keeping any of their 5 big internal free agents. Also, because my last video hit 70,000 views, that means the Super Bowl hoodie giveaway is officially on, and I randomly selected one subscriber who commented on that video to win, and that was Kathy Fly Eagles Fly. So Kathy, go down below in my description box, send me an email, prove it's you, and I'll get that hoodie sent out to you as soon as possible. Also, we're less than 200 subscribers away from giving the Zach Bond signed helmet away, and a pretty sweet giveaway happening next week. Here's a little preview if you can see it. That's coming next week. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe. Now back to Becton. Obviously, his loss is a big one. He was widely considered a first-round bust and kind of a really strange free agent signing for Philadelphia last year. But upon entry to Stoutland University, Becton hit the books and eventually graduated as one of the best right guards in the game, and obviously leaves a hole along perhaps the best offensive line we've seen in Philadelphia in many, many years. And obviously, we all wanted Mekhi Becton back. I'm sure the actual details of his contract are not going to be that expensive, and we'll all go, whoa, how did Philadelphia not sign him? But as with all the other departures this past offseason, Philadelphia has a plan, and the one currently on their roster might be their best plan yet. People tend to forget that Philadelphia drafted Tyler Steen in the 3rd round and was grooming him to be the starter at right guard heading into camp last year. Now, of course, Becton did beat him out, but Steen still saw plenty of playing time here and there, and his lone start of the season came on the road against the Bengals in a game where he allowed just 1 pressure at right guard, and the Birds' offense dropped 37 points and nearly 400 yards of offense. And while Steen is not Becton was kind of one of one, he has all the physical tools to turn into the next great right guard on Stoutland's line, and Philadelphia has a bunch of confidence in that unit overall going forward. Plus, we do forget Philadelphia just traded for Kenyon Green, so obviously depth there at the guard spot, and Trevor Keegan was a draft pick last year that I really liked, so even if Tyler Steen is not 100% ready to go, it's going to be an open battle at right guard going into training camp, and the best Stoutland University student will go ahead and win. Now, with Becton not coming back, Philadelphia still has money to spend, and what do they naturally do? Well, the same thing they've done all week long, and that is bargain hunt for cheap veterans on 1-year deals to replace their losses, and they absolutely loaded up in that category. First, by signing former Giants cornerback Adoree Jackson, who had some much-needed veteran presence in the room and could easily fill that Isaiah Rodgers number 3 cornerback spot this season. Now, no, Jackson is not the cornerback he once was and didn't play a lot last year in Big Blue, but when he did, he was targeted 40 times and allowed less than 50% completion rate. I don't think he'll compete for a starting spot, but again, good depth to have. Next, Philadelphia signed a long snapper in Rick Lovato's replacement in Charley Hughlett. Again, a cheaper option to the veteran Lovato, who some say was part of the reason Jake Elliott's kicks were up and down last year. His snapping was not exactly perfect. Did it actually matter? Who knows? Time will tell, though, but sad to see another vet leave in Lovato. Next, Philadelphia added 2 more bubble roster spot positions by first signing gadget/return specialist Avery Williamson, clearly a Britton Covey replacement, if you aren't getting the theme right now, and then former Colts tight end Kylen Granson, who brings some pass-catching experience to the Birds' what could be young tight end group. Granson's just 26 years old, only has 17 career starts in Indy, but was ascending the past 2 seasons, had over 12 yards per catch. I think he's going to be sneaky good. I'm a fan of this signing. Also, another tight end addition clearly shows that Philadelphia is not all in on Dallas Goedert, which was echoed once again by Jordan Schultz late this past week, who confirmed the Eagles have had continued open trade talks involving both Dallas Goedert and Bryce Huff, which I talked about on a show a couple of days ago. Problem is, right now, if Philadelphia were to trade, cut Bryce Huff, or even Dallas Goedert before June 1st, they're going to eat over $11 million apiece in dead cap money. And so, yes, if they got an offer they couldn't refuse for Dallas Goedert, they could trade him right now. My guess is, though, post-June 1st is when things start to kind of ramp up. I'm still holding out hope they can go ahead and re-sign Dallas Goedert, but with this report, it's not looking great. Now, Howie's final cheap signing might be my favorite of the overall week, and that is edge rusher Patrick Johnson, who you might remember was drafted by Philadelphia, and I really thought was going to make the roster last offseason following a very strong preseason in 2024, but he got cut and ended up with the New York Giants. Johnson feels like a player who almost has it. He's so close to breaking through and could be maybe the Moro Jomo type player of the 2025 squad. I mean, he's definitely going to have his chances at camp this year because the Eagle defensive line, especially at edge rusher, is very, very young. It's an uphill battle, no guarantees, but I'm very pumped for Johnson coming back. Still, though, that big free agent splash, that big trade that a lot of people, including myself, were at least hoping for the past couple of weeks hasn't really come to fruition. And while Philadelphia can still make moves, there's still players out there, there's still trades to be had. It seems like the whole entire plan this offseason from Howie Roseman is get rid of expensive veterans and bring in cheap replacements on one-year deals who maybe could be good, maybe not. We're going to have to go ahead and wait and see. But obviously, myself and Josh Davis talked about this during our weekly live show a couple of days ago. We keep saying Howie has a plan. He clearly does. Eventually, though, he has to execute on this plan. And whether that's all in the NFL draft, that's fine. But there are plenty of holes that they need to go ahead and start plugging. And that's why I think we keep kind of waiting on pins and needles, today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. Like, okay, when's the next move? When are you getting that next safety, right? When are you going to add another edge rusher? When are you going to go ahead and add an extra linebacker?
Yeah.
Maybe it's all in the draft. Maybe it's not, but we'll see.
Yeah, that is the fascinating part to me because, again, much like with Justin Reed, we don't get the report till after the fact. And hey, they're actually interested in a safety. Okay, that's shocking, especially after the trade. But same thing for, linebacker, other positions. We may not know until afterwards, a few weeks later, and it says, the Eagles were close to, name your player. So
right.
I believe that you need to have somebody else. But at the same time, if Oren Burks didn't get $5 million, 2 years, $5 million, 2 years, that to me screams. Because, again, say what we will about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, playmaker, absolute ball hawk, great on the field. I don't know if it's a distraction, if there's drama, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But Oren Burks was not those same type of vibes. So to me, that just suggests like, hey, we appreciate you, but good luck. You can have a bigger role. We're not going to offer you or we're going to match it. But Oren, took a look and said, hey, I'm already a Super Bowl champ. Do I get an opportunity to go play more snaps in Cincinnati? And there you go. But I mean, $5 million that's for 2 years. That's nothing. That hardly affects your cap at all. So
no, I know
you're probably sitting tight with the linebacker options or someone who is extra cheap as far as that goes. I don't know.
If you really wanted to put your conspiracy theory hat on before we get to these super chats here, I saw someone say that Thomas is bringing the conspiracy theories out tonight. If you wanted to get crazy, right, you could put the hat on and say Philly is not signing anybody. They're saving all this money because they want to go all in for Trey Hendrickson, right? They wanted Myles Garrett. Garrett eventually went back to the Browns, and so now they pivot to Trey Hendrickson. They're not making any moves, anybody, besides cutting people and letting people go until they try and get Trey Hendrickson, just because they haven't done anything else. That's what's just so weird is how quiet that they've been. Now I think the validity of that is probably like 5%. It's probably not true. But it does make you wonder, right? Like we keep saying they do have money. And I know that the going theory right now is, well, they want to make sure they have money for Jalen Carter, right? You want to make sure you have money for Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell, which is fine. But Jalen Carter is probably getting paid next year. Probably. They could technically wait if they wanted to, but probably getting paid next year. Cooper and Q, the quickest they get paid is 2027. Like, I mean, it's not anytime soon. So you got to pay everybody. They have everybody else under contract who actually matters. And so unless they're, deep in negotiations with Cam Jurgens or they're really trying to bring Mekhi Becton back, which we can talk about, I don't think it's going to happen. You do wonder what they want to do with all the money for 2025, right? So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, lots of interesting areas to go with. I mean, obviously, Jalen Carter is going to get a bag, and some others will get a decent amount. But even still, you're just looking at kind of moving this on. Reed Blankenship, I've seen get thrown out there. I think Reuben Frank was saying like, they very much like him. They'll probably try to do something, whether that's this season, next season. Who knows? But again, like how much are we really talking about? He's been solid, but I don't know if you're talking about top money for a safety for Reed. Same thing for Cam Jurgens, as you're mentioning, Nolan Smith for potential the following season. So there's some guys out there, but it doesn't feel like it's like an extraordinary amount. If Keely Ringo plays up to a certain level, is Sidney Brown, so you could eventually work your way or talk yourself into it to be like, oh, okay, that does make some sense. But that's a lot of guys you're still waiting on to say, are they legit going to live up to that full potential, or are you moving on? And maybe this is the point where, Howie says youth movement, 2 or 3 guys that are going to have to start or play significant snaps. It's still a possibility, but it's asking a lot. And sometimes we've seen it pay off. Sometimes it hasn't. So it'll be curious.
And again, we've said it every single day over the past 4 days, right? the current iteration of the Eagles roster, without another cornerback to compete with Keedy Ringo, without another safety to compete with Sidney Brown, without another edge rusher, without another guard, this currently is still the best roster in the National Football League, and still the best roster for sure in the NFC. I'm sure you could argue Buffalo, or you could argue this team or that team, but this is still a very loaded team. And I was texting a buddy of mine because everyone's hitting me up on my phone whenever the bad things happen to the Eagles, I get a lot of text. When they win the Super Bowl, I get very little text. So I get people saying, "Do you see all the Eagles losing these people? This is really bad." And I said, okay, so maybe instead of 34-0 in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, it's 34-17. Right? Instead of 55 points against the Washington Commanders, it's 41, right? They were leagues ahead of everybody in the playoffs. Now, they might take a step back a little bit on defense, which is still a question mark. What's 10 points given up extra, right? They're still winning a ton of games. They're still very feared in the NFC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If someone was asking, hey, do you think that we could be even close to the same type of defense that we were last year with these moves? It's like, absolutely. There's still so many more opportunities, even if this is the core group, and then you just add with some supplemental draft picks and a couple free agents or UDFAs or, anybody like that. It for sure. Like you could say top 10, absolutely. Top 10 defense. Top 5 still feels very realistic, and you could even be the number 1 defense. We saw guys take strides like crazy in Coop and Q. Do you get that again? Who knows? That doesn't happen every single year, but I don't think it's out of the ordinary to say, that is still a possibility with the guys you have. Shout out to a couple of super chats, so I hit on those. Real Talk with the G, though, gifting 10 Philly Special Show memberships. Let's go.
There you go.
Appreciate that. Everybody getting on the action there. Crush Melatonin. Breaking news, Philly Eagles GM Howie Roseman put into concussion protocol with the beer can. So there's the image. I saw this floating around a lot more often, which you knew this was going to get turned into some sort of meme or anything like that.
You knew it was,
but I don't know. The first envisioned part was, hey, a CJ Gardner-Johnson trade and check Howie for a concussion. It was more so like, what a baller move. He's got the cigar in his mouth and everything there. I get it. People are still wondering. It's hard to fully comprehend what his plan is, but he's got one. We say it all the time. He's playing 4D chess. He thinks so many different moves ahead. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It was at least thought out. It was planned for a while. I don't know how long, but it wasn't a like, oh, wake up today and go, you know what, we're trading CJ. That's it. Like there may have been a moment earlier where, okay, we're going to start looking into this, but in my mind, it couldn't have been, oh, today. Like, here you go, make this move. Carlos with a 5. Appreciate that. Gentlemen, salute. Okay, Howie trades all the picks this draft, and we get Carter. I love these. Warren,
come on, guys.
And Emanwari. I think that'll be an even exchange from what we lost.
Are we the only ones drafting? Are they canceling it for the other 31 NFL teams out there? Emanwari is a very real possibility. Okay, Starks. There's been a large contingent to the Georgia Pro Day today.
For sure.
Here, an hour and a half north of me in Atlanta right now, up in Athens. So they easily could get Starks, Emanwari, any of the other edge rushers, the Ole Miss guys, anything like that. I think they might have to move up for the USC safety. I think Malachi Starks probably got to move up a little bit there too. But they do have the ammo, Josh, to go from like a 32 to a 27, right? That kind of move is very possible. 32 to anywhere in the teens is most likely not going to happen because you would give up a lot to go. Even past 23 would probably be a pretty big king's ransom. So, you're hovering around 32. Your guy is Malachi Starks. You're starting to think, oh, he might go at 27, go to 26, good to go. So, they have the ammo to do so. I think Howie's going to go crazy in this draft, as he normally does, up and down, up and down, up and down, all throughout the rounds.
Plenty of trading. I would absolutely agree. It's fun to think about. It's fun to play out the scenarios. Abdul Carter is the most ridiculous, never, ever going to happen. Warren is still not going to happen, but it's at least not to the extreme. You'd have to give up a lot of draft picks to move up. But then, as you said, with Emanwari or some of the other safeties, I could certainly see you sit there, you wait, you make a move to try to go get somebody. How he does have the ammunition there. Peyton with a 2. Did BG officially retire? I don't. Did we actually officially get that?
No, he has not.
We haven't seen the press conference, like Kelsey got. So I don't know. That I feel like he's still done, but the fact that he's, not had the full-blown send-off, that seems to, I don't know, suggest maybe he's thinking about running it back one more season.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because he also tore his tricep in the Super Bowl, or retore his tricep in the Super Bowl. So you would assume I really thought that that's kind of the nail in the coffin. But tricep injuries aren't that long, right? You can be fully healed from a tricep with very little chance of re-tearing by the time training camp starts. I mean, it's so far in the future in late July or early August. So if he wants to run it back, that would help. We keep talking about the Chris Long. I mean, I think every offseason, I think I say the words Chris Long, esque edge rusher, right? The Chris Long prototype becoming signed to Philadelphia. He would be just that. He basically was a better version of that early on in 2024. The guy was like our best edge rusher until Nolan Smith started to kind of turn things on, and obviously he got BG got hurt. So I'd be fine with him coming back. We haven't heard anything yet, so he's probably mulling it over.
Yeah, and he gets to rehab with Nolan Smith. So how about that? They both ended up doing similar things. They're both similar types of players. People being like, oh, Nolan's going to replace BG to be that same type of player. And go figure. They both tore their triceps, played through it. Kind of ridiculous. But hopefully they can rehab quickly. As you said, not usually the most extensive rehab for that type of surgery, or for the, and/or surgery, but the rehab.
We got plenty more stuff happening the next couple of days and weeks. Again, it's the second week of free agency this coming week, and so they technically could sign people. And so make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and get ready for the 90K subscriber giveaway. Going to hit that maybe on this video. We'll see. A lot of stuff happening next week. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.